So I want to talk a little bit about ADHD. ADHD, in my words, if I have to define it without confusing you all with scientific terms, it's basically life being too slow for someone. And that's my case. I was born with ADHD. I didn't know it until I was in first grade, and in first grade I was diagnosed with ADHD. And the only way I could know this was I was just like everybody else. I was a hyperactive kid. I liked to enjoy life. But people change as they grow, and as I grew, I did not change. I still like to run around. I still like to disturb people. And I ended up this way. And you all live with ADHD. That's a fact. But you don't know it. Whether that be a friend, a person you know, or a family member, ADHD is always around you. But you don't know it because you're not informed about it. ADHD is when someone can't stop moving. When someone can't concentrate on a single thought because they have so many thoughts in their heads and they can't select the single thought they have to concentrate on. And in my life, if I have to talk about my life to you as a person with ADHD, as I grew and things did not change, I began struggling in middle school especially. And when I came to high school, I had to make a decision because life was getting serious. I didn't know how to do my homeworks. I was a terrible student. I passed all my middle school grades with a D- because my teachers were merciful. Other than that, I'd be an F student. And in high school, when I took my decision, I decided to take medication, whereas some people don't. And it may sound like a simple decision because if you take medication, you can do your studies and you can become a very good student. But that wasn't my case because it had so many side effects. And for many people, it has side effects, such as that you can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't socialize, you can't make friends, and you basically don't have a life besides your academic life. And that was my case. And so many people in this world live that way, with the effects of such medication. And they don't know their true personality because they're affected by it in their daily life. And you may ask, what happens if you don't take the medication? What happens is that you become a disturbance to your environment because you're too active and people don't want you. And you eventually decide to hang out with people who would want you, who are people that are disturbances as well. And they lead you to a wrong path and you end up in a ruined life. And when I decided to take my medication, it didn't work for me either. I was still a bad student because in school it would help me. I was a good student. But then when I came home, I wouldn't be able to do my homeworks and study for my tests. So in my own mind, I figured out a strategy for myself. And I decided to take them only when I came home. So I could do my homeworks and study for my tests, but I'd be terrible in school. And right now, if you ask my teachers, some of them are here, they'll probably tell that I'm one of the worst students in their classes. But I have a high GPA of like a 93 right now. And with being such a failure throughout my life, right now I'm expected to be in one of the best universities in my country. I have a very high GPA. Although I suffer, I made sacrifices and I'm here where I am today. And since 1 out of every 11 people have ADHD, I know that for a fact that you consider suicide, you consider to do bad things, you feel like you're less, you feel like you're cursed by God, but you're actually not because of the fact that you were born with ADHD for a reason. ADHD brings a person creativeness. When a teacher asks you in class, think about an idea to write a story on. While other people take a whole hour to think about an idea, you generate 10 ideas in 5 seconds. And that's your gift. And in order to be like other people you admire, the ordinary people, as I like to call, you can take single medication and you can be like them in your academic life. But those ordinary people can do nothing to have a mind like yours, a creative mind like yours. So what I would tell you is that don't feel mad. Your ADHD is not a curse, it's a gift.